Bard in Baldur's Gate 3 offers so many things to help your party for the best playthrough possible. They're extremely versatile, perhaps even the most versatile of all the classes. Like a jack of all trades, assisting you on your journey, and to be honest, the Bard is easily one of the most underrated classes on top of that. Its main stat, Charisma, is incredible for dialogue options, and the Bard has ways to further these advantages for the stat as well, giving you tremendous chances of success in your DC or dice checks. This guide is going to cover all of that, but there's also going to be a strong emphasis on dealing damage, because the reality is that as you get towards the end game, your offensive capabilities actually become some of your best defense in most situations. I'm about to show you that the Bard can in fact do all of those amazing things, while also being a solid range damage dealer, and they do it while looking and being cool, which is a big part of the immersion for so many players. Alright, so level 1 is important, and you could choose any race that you would like. You'll easily be able to get through the game regardless. I personally like Githyanki. This is because we get Psionic's Jump at level 3. This can be used as a ritual, meaning that we can use this before we engage combat if we know that there's a situation coming, and it lasts for 10 turns, just increasing our mobility. And then at level 5 we get Misty Step, incredibly powerful as well. We can now teleport to locations, getting a height advantage, and then using our ranged attacks to come down on the enemies and so forth. So it just complements the build fairly well in my opinion, but don't let that stop you. You can certainly play any race you would like. For cantrips, we're going to focus on utility and versatility, whether it's the cantrips or the spells. Level 1, I'm selecting Mage Hand. This can allow us to create a spectral hand to manipulate and interact with objects, as well as Minor Illusion. We can use this as a distraction to then allow our party to sneak by or potentially steal some things, and a lot of other options you can do with that as well. For spells, we'll take Healing Word. This is just an incredibly powerful spell. It allows you to pick players up on your party if they've been knocked unconscious from an 18-meter range as a bonus action. We'll also be adding additional bonus actions later on as we increase levels through multi-classing. Featherfall, just some utility here, allows you to complete with a lot of quests, objectives, interact with the world, and so forth. Thunderwave, again, some more utility here. You can knock back enemies that are on you or on party members. You can run up to them, then cast the Thunderwave. Just allows you to separate yourselves, get some ranged attacks off, or potentially knock them off of heights and cliffs and so forth, and either kill them or deal large damage. Heroism, you can make yourself or target immune to frightened and gain 5 temporary hit points each turn. Just a good little protection or buffer for an individual that might be out of position. And it's powerful for a level 1 spell, so I like to take this as the final option here. Starting instrument is entirely up to whatever you prefer, whether it be visually or audibly, so select your favorite there. As a bard, we'll also get Bardic Inspiration. We can inspire an ally to add 1d8 bonus to their next attack roll, ability check, or saving throw. This is essentially a 5 to 40% increase on any of those actions. This has an 18-meter range, used as a bonus action, and lasts until long rest, meaning it's good inside and outside of combat. For ability scores, we're going to tank strength and intellect all the way down to 8. We are not going to use these at all in the build, so we're just going to drop them to get additional points to place elsewhere. We're going to put 2 points for the bonus into dexterity, putting us up to 17. Ideally, this will be your main character who you can then use Hair of the Hag, boost this to 18, and then at level 4, we'll take the feat ability improvement and push this all the way to 20. For Constitution, we'll put this at 14. This is going to improve our Constitution saving throws as well as give us some additional hit points, solid for our survivability. Wisdom, we keep at 10 just to have it remain neutral. And Charisma, we'll put at 16 with the additional 1 point for the bonus. We do want some bonus from our charisma because we will take some spells targeted at the enemies and we want to have a decent charisma to have a chance at landing them. However, we're not going to raise it any higher than this. We don't need to push or max our charisma out because in general we'll be taking utility based spells which will have a very high or 100% chance of landing all the time. So we don't have to cap this out just for the chance of hitting enemies. For skill proficiencies, I like to take 3 that affect charisma stats: deception, intimidation, and persuasion. You could also take performance. Personally, I find it the least useful through the playthrough, so I just get more benefit out of these other 3. And in terms of dialogue options, these are enormous. You will have so much success with these throughout your playthrough. Really lets you feel in control of dictating the conversations, getting outcomes that you're looking for, and your playthrough is entirely different if you have a character with no charisma or none of these proficiencies. Just something to keep in mind. You may also enjoy that, whether it be at the moment or for later playthrough. Already at level 2, we start to get some powerful things to help support our party. First off, we get a class feature, Jack of all trades. Your vast experiences make you more likely to succeed in any undertaking, adding half of your proficiency bonus rounded down to ability checks you're not proficient in. Just gives you a lot of utility outside of combat. And on top of this, we get the Song of Rest action. you and your allies are revitalized as though you would have taken a short rest. This has a lot of synergy with certain classes. To name a couple of them, Warlock and Druid. Warlocks are going to regain all of their spell slots from this, and Druids are going to regain the shapeshift charges from this. And there's far more things that this is beneficial to as well. So just keep that in mind, and you may want to build your party, not just on this member, but you may want to build all of your members to work and synergize together. For spells, I feel this is really between two choices for the most part. Dissonant Whispers, which can frighten a creature, making it easier to hit as well as immobilize them. Or Fairy Fire. Our targets within the light are going to turn visible, and attack rolls against them have advantage. There's a lot of enemies that can turn invisible in this game, so Fairy Fire is something you're going to want to have on at least one character, in my opinion. Level 3 is going to bring some more great stuff for us. Mainly here, we're going to get an additional spell, a level 2 spell. We're going to get the Githyanki Psionics Jump that we talked about before. We get to choose our subclass as well as a fighting style. Let's go ahead and take a look at spells. I think Cloud of Daggers is really a good choice here. Reason for that is one thing this class does lack is actually AoE, and Cloud of Daggers is an excellent AoE spell that we have access to. It pretty much makes it the front runner in my opinion. Here's the Psionics Jump I had mentioned. Subclass, College of Swords. This is going to give us access to more than a few actions really, but the ones we're interested in are the range versions. Defensive Flourish, we have the ability to increase our armor cost by 4 if we hit. We also get the Mobile Flourish. We can shoot a target and then teleport to them. This is probably the least used. If you were playing different builds, this would be handy. If you were making use of your melee weapons more often, this would also be handy. Slashing Flourish, this allows us to attack up to 2 enemies at once, and what the tooltip doesn't tell you is that this can actually attack the same enemy twice, just giving us more hits onto the target. For fighting style, we're taking 2-weapon fighting. When you make an attack with your offhand weapon, you can add your ability modifier to the damage of the attack, just increasing our overall damage again. Level 4, we'll pick up a cantrip, a spell, and most importantly, a feat. For the cantrips, I like to select light here, again, just really emphasizing the utility of this class to round out everything else in your party. For spells, I think you can choose between Heat Metal and Hold Person. Heat Metal is incredibly useful. This allows you to force hard-hitting enemies to drop their weapons. Things like enemy barbarians with high damage hitting attacks. Hold Person, also very strong, just seems to have a low chance to hit, and since we don't have our charisma max, this may be situational, and even on top of that, you need to make sure that it lands in order to get any benefit out of it. For feat, I would recommend ability improvement, and this is if you have used the Hair of the Hag in order to get to 20 for your dexterity. If you have not, at this level, you could choose to use something like Athlete, which is going to increase your jump distance, which will also then scale with the Psionics Jump that you have from the Githyanki race. Level 5 is access to level 3 spells, as well as Misty Step for being a Githyanki. I like to take Glyph of Warding here. Again, this is more AoE damage, which this class does lack. And on top of that, we have the added benefit of selecting which school we want that spell to be from, whether it be fire, lightning, etc. Just add some diversity to the type of damage that we're able to do. And that's basically it for this level. Level 6 will be the last level that we put into Bard for now, or potentially ever, depending on how you want to build your Bard in the final steps. In this guide, we'll go a couple more levels, but what you'll get here is an action counter charm. You and any allies within 9 meters have advantage on saving throws against being charmed or frightened. Very powerful just for being in range of the Bard. Top of that, we're going to gain an additional spell. In this situation, I like to take Speak with Dead, just increasing the utility. This is going to become more and more useful for finishing quests, getting information as the story progresses, and especially as you get into Act 3. In the subclass feature, we're going to get an extra attack. This basically puts us in line with the martial classes. We're going to obviously use this extra attack to deal more range damage, but in general, this is a nice damage boost at this point. At character level 7, we're going to put our first level in Rogue, and then we're going to put levels in Rogue for character level 8 and 9 as well. At level 1 for Rogue, we're going to get the ability to add some skill proficiencies, and you can vary these up to your liking. However, I like to take Athletics because without it, you actually have a negative here at this point, so I like to keep that in the positive range. Sleight of Hand, just because this is useful for lockpicking, and again, we're making this an overall highly versatile utility type character. And then I boost the Intimidation, because it's the only option of the other ones that I've previously boosted, just giving us even more success. Character level 8, Rogue level 2. Looks boring, but it's actually pretty good. We're going to get Cunning Action Hide, Cunning Action Dash, as well as Cunning Action Disengage. And the reason these are so good is because they're bonus actions. And when we take the next level in Rogue, we're actually going to get an additional bonus action, which means that we can, say, disengage from a target and then get a fair amount of attacks off on them, doing large damage even though there was an enemy within melee range of us. We basically never have to use our melee weapons with this build because of this. In fact, we can just equip things that are stat sticks, giving us benefits to the build or passives and so forth, rather than an actual melee weapon we plan to use. Character level 9, Rogue level 3, we're going to get access to the subclass, and we're going to select Thief. And we do this because we get fast hands, which gives us an additional bonus action. We can do so much with this, whether it's an extra range attack, disengage, dash, etc. The list kind of goes on here. On top of that, we also get second story work. You basically gain resistance to falling damage. It certainly doesn't hurt, just an additional benefit that we get for going this route. At character level 10, you have a couple of options. You could put another level into Rogue, gaining access to a feat. You could put another level into Bard, or you could actually put a level into Fighter. Putting a level into Fighter is going to allow you to gain access to the Archery skill, which will increase your chance to hit with ranged weapons, which could be considerably nice at this point. If you're playing a Githyanki, you'll have access to medium armors already, which is why I actually delay the Fighter level for this particular race. But being a fighter would also give you access to medium armor at this point if you're looking to beef up your character in that regard. We're going to get access to 4th level spells going the path of the Bard here, and what I recommend here is greater invisibility. This can turn a creature invisible and it doesn't have to be used on yourself, so you can cast this on a party member and have them sneak up and get a large hit off, say a melee character or anything like that at the start of combat. Just really increases the potential of what you can do for opening turns in combat, as well as outside of combat. Allows you to go invisible, steal things, and so forth. Character level 11, we'll put another level into Bard here. This will give us access to a feat as well as be able to learn an additional spell. I like to take Dimension Door at this point. More importantly here, we get a feat. And for the feat choice, I like to select Sharpshooter. We're going to have ranged weapon attacks no longer receive penalties from high ground rules. And in addition to that, we have a -5 penalty to our attack roll, but deal an additional 10 damage. Now this seems like it's fairly harmful, however we have so many attacks that we're typically going to land at least one, and just boosting the damage that we deal really starts to add up with the more attacks that we get. Furthermore, at level 12, we're going to add Archery through the Fighter class. Character level 12, short and simple. Select Fighter, go to Fighter style, pick Archery. This is going to give you a +2 bonus to ranged weapon attacks, offsetting that Sharpshooter penalty to some degree, and overall just allowing your character to do a lot of range damage while supporting your party and having incredible dialogue options throughout your playthrough. So let's go ahead and take a look at the equipment that I'm using in this character as well. At this point, my character has a lot of powerful equipment, not just this character, but all the characters in my party. Helm of Baldur. This is going to heal you for 2 hit points at the beginning of each turn, +1 bonus to armor class and saving throws. You can't be stunned, nor can you be critically hit. The Vicious Cloak, going to gain 7 temporary hit points after casting a spell in melee. This basically allows you to have enemies come onto you and cast a spell and then disengage or move away and just get some additional temporary hit points out of it. Helldusk Armor, you're considered proficient with this armor while wearing it. Now if you don't have this, you would just use your best piece of medium armor at this point. Top of this, when you succeed a saving throw, the caster is going to receive burning for 3 turns, just allowing you to deal additional damage. And you have some pretty good saving throws, whether it be for Constitution or Charisma. Helldusk Gloves, gain +1 bonus to spell attack rolls and spell save dice checks. Your weapon attacks deal an additional 1 to 6 fire damage, and this is going to be for every attack that you do with your weapons. In this case, we're going to be dual wielding to take even more advantage of this and the other damage modifiers that we have. Tyrannical Jackboots, +1 bonus to charisma checks and saving throws. We already have a very strong charisma, and this is just going to benefit this even more. Using Staff of Spell Power, and this is just a stat stick, so to speak, +1 bonus to spell save dice checks and spell attack rolls. More importantly, at least for this build, I'm using this to alleviate the arcane burden of spell power with the power of the staff. The next spell you cast doesn't cost a spell slot. You have very limited spell slots with this build, so that's why I like to take advantage of this. Then I use a shield, Kethric's Shield, gain +1 bonus to spell save dice checks and spell attack rolls. This is all redundant and doesn't continue to stack. However, if you don't have any of these options, at least you'll get the benefit in one spot. More importantly here, when a foe hits you with a melee attack, you can use a reaction to knock it prone, which is essentially the reason that I'm using this shield, plus the armor class. Amulet of the Harpers, advantage on wisdom saving throw checks. Again, just adding some bonus to my saving throws here, as well as shield that you can use as a spell. Just an incredibly powerful defensive tool to have at your disposal. Caustic Band, your weapon attacks also deal 2 acid damage. Just with the number of attacks that we have here, this just allows us to really take advantage of this. Burnished Ring gives us access to Paralyzing Ray, just some added CC and support for our party. Using the Hellfire hand crossbow, possibly inflict burning when hitting a creature with this weapon while hiding or invisible. Now you can take advantage of also using sneak attack, like I mentioned, so just an additional thing to add to this. On top of that, it's a +2 weapon enchantment, just makes it a strong hand crossbow. Hand crossbow +1, this is just the next best hand crossbow that I have access. There are better hand crossbows than this available in the game, and hopefully you have some luck finding one of those on your playthrough. As always, thanks for taking the time to watch, and have a great day.